Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're looking at the Onkyo LS7200 3D soundbar system. They announced this in November last year and they've just released it, and I'm going to bring you possibly the longest video that I've ever made on the channel, so I really recommend getting some drinks and snacks and getting yourself comfy for this one. Also, on a quick note, I'm not an expert in audio, this is more my kind of prosumer opinion, but I will try and cover everything in as much detail as I can. So this soundbar consists of three pieces. You've got the multi-driver array, main speaker or the soundbar, that goes to an external receiver, and then you've also got a wireless subwoofer. This has so many different functions, I'm just going to reel them off for you. So you can do Apple AirPlay, Bluetooth tune-in, it's got Wi-Fi, AccuEQ, which is the calibration to actually set up the soundbar. It supports Deezer, HDCP 2.2, Dolby Atmos, Spotify, DTX Sound, Tidal, DTS Play-Fi, and even more little things that obviously we'll touch on as we go through the video. Now I do need to emphasize it's got so many functions, but do note this is a high-end piece of kit. This is the standard of hardware that you'd be looking at if money is really not a problem. So do make sure you're sitting down when you go to check the price in the description, as you can't call it cheap by any stretch of the imagination. Now one thing I really like is the main soundbar connects to the receiver by just a single cable. So if you're mounting your TV on a wall and you've got a conduit that goes back down, you just need to run one cable, then everything else goes into your receiver, then the sound's produced from there. Also makes it easy if it's on a TV stand, you can easily hide all your cabling away from the receiver so you don't have excess cables running everywhere, so it does make cable management really quite easy. The receiver can take up to 4 HDMI inputs, then takes 1 HDMI out. You've also got options on there for phono inputs, so if you wanted to play vinyl turntable or something, for example, that's what I've been doing, you can do so. Then you've also got options to use the USB, Ethernet, and then obviously the wireless methods I've mentioned already. So that's enough for specs for a little while. Let's just get around the box. It comes really well packaged, to emphasis on just how well they do it. Everything's so neatly packed and organised. You know it's going to be safe during shipping as well. Now it comes in a pretty hefty and heavy box, so be prepared to put those muscles to use when you do lug it to wherever you want to set it up. So starting with the subwoofer, it comes in plastic wrap as you'd expect to protect the coating that's on it. Lovely matte black apart from the top, which is a really nice high gloss. Love taking those off the top. Nice little Onkyo logo at the top. This is the SLW403 wireless powered subwoofer, so you just need the power plug and then it wirelessly connects to the receiver, which is quite handy, especially if you want to put it somewhere else in the room. This has a 50-watt output with a 16mm cone woofer. And in terms of subwoofers go, that looks pretty damn good. It's actually one you don't want to hide away as well. A lot of soundbar systems you get that include a wireless sub just don't look that great. They're kind of very plain and bland. This one actually looks really quite nice and will fit in with pretty much any piece of furniture. There's not much on the back as it is a wireless subwoofer. You just got the mains input and the link button to the actual receiver. It does come prepared from the factory though, so you don't have to do that. There isn't a power switch though, so it will remain on at all times. Underneath you can see the 16cm speaker and also an air exclusion port. You do get some pads to put on the feet as well if you're going to put it on a hardwood surface, but I use carpet so I didn't bother with mine. So looking at the accessories you get before we move on to the receiver, you've got the instruction manual and quick start guide, a remote control, an antenna if you want to use the FM radio that's built in. You've got 40 preset channels with it. So batteries for the remote, the pads that go under the subwoofer, the cable to link the receiver to the actual soundbar, and then your audio setup microphone. Okay, so onto the receiver, which is the HT-LO5 5-channel network receiver. This supports up to 50 watts per channel, and let's run through the ins and outs we've got on this. So on the very front we've got the power button on the top left, then you've got a USB port that you can use to play back media, a headphone jack which is great for obviously playing at night, input selector to go through the plethora available, so you've got your DVD, cable, satellite, game, Dreambox, CD, TV, FM, net, Bluetooth and USB. Obviously you've got the screen that will show what's going on. Then you've got some tuning buttons for the FM radio and then a nice big volume wheel that does illuminate. The ventilation is on the top, so make sure you leave adequate room for cooling. So very much business up the front, party in the back. There's a lot going on here, so this will take a little while, so bear with me. We've got the FM tuner port for your antenna, the audio in for phonos, so you can use anything like an external CD player, vinyl player, anything along the lines that still uses phono. Below that we've got Ethernet, HDMI out, which will go to your TV, your 4 HDMI in, which support up to 4K 60 frames a second, so you're definitely future-proof there. You've got optical audio in, then your port for the setup with the microphone, we'll show you that in a minute. Now you've got 2 antennas for the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi. Bluetooth is using version 4.1 and Wi-Fi 2.4 and 5 GHz. The right hand side just has the port where you're going to connect to your actual soundbar and then an outlet for the power cable. Okay, so onto the actual soundbar. This is model LB403. It's a low profile design, so it won't get in the way when you're viewing your content. It has a dual driver system for left and right channels, dual center drivers, and then individual height speakers enabling for object-based surround sound. And then just connects with that one cable as I mentioned before. I really love the look at this. That brush silver really just does pop. Now if you're using this on a cabinet, it's got soft rubber feet to protect the surface. If you want to wall mount it, it's really easy to do so. You just need a few screws in your wall and it will just literally slide down over the top. So there's the single multi-pin connector that will connect to your receiver. Adequate room if you're going to wall mount it as well for the cable to go through without being snagged. It's nice to see they haven't got standard flat ends on the side of the soundbar, something a little bit different. So in terms of setup, it's pretty self-explanatory. Put in the connections you need and then obviously connect the receiver to the soundbar. Power on the subwoofer and then it will automatically connect to the receiver once that's powered on. So when you initially power on the receiver, you'll have to do the initial setup, which is comprised of calibration, setting your sources up, network, and then your audio. Now included in the box, you get a microphone which you will connect into the back of the receiver. You will then place this at the height where you'll listen to the speakers, whether you're sat on your sofa or a chair or whatever you're using. You can use it on a tripod as well. It has got a tripod mount on the bottom if that makes it easier, so you don't have to stack it on top of boxes and things like that. Then that will run through the cable all the way back to the receiver. That will listen to the different sounds that come from the speaker and then calibrate it accordingly. If you're wondering, that sounds like this. So once calibration is complete, you don't have to bother doing that again. It's just a one-time setup, unless obviously you move it into a different room that's a different size. Then you've got options to go into your networking and set up things like that. You don't actually have to do those straight away, though you can do that later on. Also an option there to set up return audio if you so wish, so sound that goes from the TV back to the receiver. This is the main kind of homepage for the soundbar. It's got all your different options that are built in. We're going to be using Spotify as an example for this review. Now once you've connected it to a network and you're using Spotify from a PC or a phone for example, you can actually select it as an audio device to play directly to. That enables you to control the music you play from your device or PC without actually having to use the soundbar. It then just sends the audio straight to the receiver, which is really quite cool. So now I'm going to give you a sound sample. Now please bear in mind how you're going to listen to this coming across the video and YouTube is totally different to how it is here. I'm just going to try and give you a representation of how it sounds. In person it sounds absolutely phenomenal. This is on the surround enhancer mode, by the way. I'll get to the modes later on. This was recorded using a Shure SM58 into a H4n, calibrated 2 foot from the speaker and 2 foot high as well. So let's have a quick listen. By the way, if you're wondering, the track is Alan Walker Fade. Now if that still doesn't sound great, then I've done the best I can. I generally don't include sound tests for the reason that people would complain that they don't sound good, but it's really out of my control with YouTube compression and how you listen back to it. If I didn't put a sound test in, then people would complain that there wasn't one, so this is why I've added it in. This is the quick menu that you can easily access from the remote control. Gives you all the quick things you might want to do on the fly. One thing I like about that menu is you've got quick adjustment to the tone and bass. By default the subwoofer is on -4 and that is mental enough as it is. So if you do play about with that, be very careful. So as I mentioned before, the volume ring does illuminate. You can dim this on the remote control, which is better obviously at night if you're watching a movie, so it's not distracting. But unfortunately, you can't turn it all the way off. So on the front of the display, we've got all the different modes you can go through for your different sound options. So we've got mono, Dolby Surround, all channel stereo, surround enhancer, which I think is personally the best one, Dolby Surround, DTS Neural X, game action, and then finally game sports. So this is the remote control you get included. I thought I'd give you a look as you may want to see it. If I don't include it, someone will want to, so here it is. Pretty self-explanatory for what you can do on there. The quick menu is the one we looked at with these small options that you can easily adjust all your treble and bass. And then the settings is where you get all your advanced options. So that's pretty much it for going around the actual receiver, subwoofer, soundbar. Enjoy some bad driving from me on Project Cars while I go through this. So I think the best way to sum this up is the overall experience over trying to talk to you specifically about sound. I personally found that I had to change the treble down by 3 ticks. It sounded a little bit sharp from when I was playing music back by Spotify. Then once I adjusted that slightly, we were all good. The bass is on -4, as I said, from default, and that itself just provides an absolute amazing punch in sound. Gaming, movies and Spotify are my 3 primary sources of media consumption with the soundbar. The game you're seeing here, which is Project Cars for Xbox One, was so good to play. Just the low end bass when you're hitting those low RPM, getting into the mid and high RPM ranges just sound really cool when played back. Hitting bumps and things as well, you get a nice solid thump. Going over the corner pads as well, gives a really great feedback that just pulls you further into an immersive gameplay experience. I actually went in testing this with Saving Private Ryan, which is my favourite film of all time. Because it was such an immersive experience, I got so sucked in, I completely forgot my train of thought that I was there to test and listen to the soundbar rather than actually watch the film. So that shows just how well it does recreate all these sounds. As I mentioned, the bass is just absolutely phenomenal. Grenades, bombs sound absolutely amazing. And honestly, no matter what I put through this, just sounded great. I didn't really have any bad experience with audio at all. A couple of issues where I had to tweak the treble. As I said, it was a little bit sharp. After that point, everything seemed to be spot on. It seemed rather odd in a way that everything works so fluently, but it did. Between the last clip I recorded and this one, I've actually listened to a couple of special songs to me on this soundbar. Generally, I only leave for my high-end audiophile headphones. You can only really get the detailing from those, and it picked them up with this soundbar, and it definitely sent that judder down my spine that I get when I use headphones with them. So clarity is outstanding. To pick up those little details I only rarely hear from audiophile headphones is a phenomenal thing to hear. Extremely impressed, even more so than before listening to those specific songs. Now there may be something you want covered that I haven't in this video, and what I'm going to suggest is we make kind of a forum down in the comment section below where I can go through and answer these questions. I can even test it and get back to you in the comments as well. So if you've got any questions, please do leave them below. As I did say, I'm a prosumer, so I'm still learning, so hence showing you what I do know rather than what I don't. So quick final thoughts to end this pretty long video now. I love the ins and outs on it. You've got a massive plethora of connections available. Some people may miss the composite cables. Personally, for me, it's not really too much of a bother. If I really want it, I'll just use a converter to HDMI. I do like the phono connection as well. It's great to play vinyls back on, something that I'm going to be doing a lot more of in the future. The Wi-Fi is hands down what I use the most, using Spotify Connect. Quickly click through from my PC and just play it directly on the soundbar, which is just seamless. Then for movies, instead of actually watching it, you feel like you're part of it. A couple of minor niggles. I would like to see an HDMI on the front, just make it easy if you're playing back from something like a MacBook, make your life a little bit easier. And then having the option to fully turn off the illuminated volume control, I think would just be nice as well. So it is an expensive piece of equipment, but if you're looking to spend that kind of money, you're not really going to be bothered how much it costs anyway. As I said before, but I just want to emphasize the fact that there's certain things I don't know. If you do have any questions, please do let me know. Leave them in the comment box below. Big thank you goes out to Onkyo for sending this out for me to review. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.